Okay, it's official. So hi friends, thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Megan Daraspini. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Assistant Director of Advising and Operations in the College of Natural Resources, which basically means that I get to support all the great work that our advisors do for our students. And what we're hoping to do today is to help share information about the sort of like capital D discovery efforts on campus, both in the college and more broadly, as a way to help you all think about ways that you want to get engaged next semester, in the summer, in a future academic year. And we wanted to target this conversation towards our transfer students who have maybe a smaller window in which to fit all of these things. And so having a conversation about what that will look like. So we have some wonderful panelists that represent different offices on campus, and I'll give them a chance to say hello in just a minute. And then we'll go ahead and open up to talk a little bit more about some of these programs. So before we get started, I will go ahead and do our land acknowledgement. Hopefully this is a thing that you encounter in many spaces, and we want to make sure that we include it here. We recognize that Berkeley sits on the territory of Huichin, the ancestral and unceded land of the Chichenyo Ohlone, the successors of the historic and sovereign Verona Band of Alameda County. This land was and continues to be of great importance to the Ohlone people. We recognize that every member of the Berkeley community has benefited and continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land since the institution's founding in 1868. And then this is something we sort of add for CNR, that it's our hope that as we talk about the community we develop in our college and in this space, that it is inclusive of the needs of American Indian and Indigenous peoples. And I always like to include some additional resources for folks who maybe want to continue to engage in that work and aren't sure where to go, or sort of what conversations are being had in different spaces. And I know lots of our students do really great work and important work in this area too. So those are available and will be, linked as we send this out. So thank you for that. We'll shift gears now, and I would love to have our panelists say hello. So share their name, pronouns, and then their current role in their particular office. And then they'll come back and share a lot more about the different opportunities that they have available that you might want to consider. So Caitlin, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, thank you again, Megan, for having us. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Caitlin Aquino. I use she, they, sha pronouns. I work at the Public Service Center in Eshelman, and particularly, I work under our College Core Fellowship as a behavioral health, wellness, housing engagement coordinator. Yeah, super excited to be here again. I was also a transfer student before working here, so I'm excited to talk to y'all today.
Thank you, Caitlin. And then Renee, if you'd love to say hello.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. My name is Renee Camarena, and I'm an advisor in the Berkeley Study Abroad office. In my portfolio, I advise on Italy, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, and the French Polynesia Maria program. We're located in 160 Stevens, right next door to the Campanile. That's where we have myself and my other colleagues that are advisors, as well as our wonderful peer advisors. Fun fact, I was a transfer student as well. However, I did go to a different university in the San Francisco Bay Area.
We forgive you that component. Thank you so much, Renee. And then Sarah, do you want to wrap us up with our intros?
Yes, hello, my name is Sarah Rhodes. I use the She, Her series. I am an academic advisor over in CNR, but here in my capacity for this panel, I am the S.P.U.R or Sponsored Projects for Undergraduate Research coordinator. I'm excited to share with you guys a lot of information about this wonderful research grant program. And then I'm in good company. I am also a transfer student once upon a time. Though, like Renee, I went to a different university as a transfer student.
Yay, thank you so much, friends. So we'll get to hear lots more from Caitlin, Renee, and Sarah about their respective programs. And so before we jump into their great wisdom, I'm just going to share a couple of ways that you may already know about, and that's great. If you hear it 12 times, that's better than 0 times. So just want to make sure. So Berkeley has what we refer to as the Discovery Hub, which is meant to be a space for students to access all kinds of information. Discovery, sort of broadly meaning spaces that you can be engaged in learning and extra and co-curricular experiences outside of your classroom. Sometimes it might be in the classroom as well, like a field-based experience or something like that. But a lot of this will include everything from career engagement. And so this links in with Handshake and the opportunities that career engagement is posting. Individual colleges and offices can also partner and have things feed into the Discovery Hub. And so this is a place where you can absolutely be finding all kinds of information. There's a really great search capacity in the Discovery Opportunities database. So just want to make sure that everyone's aware of that tool across campus. Within CNR, if you will be receiving, weekly emails from us, and we always link to our virtual bulletin board, which has a really, really broad range of opportunities, sometimes including a session like this, for example, would be advertised in that space, student orgs. And then you can see sort of organized by internships and research and all kinds of things. And we hear often from students who find ways to be engaged through our bulletin board. So just making sure that you're tapped into that. We know the weekly emails, you receive 1,000 of them from various offices, so that can get to be a lot. But just sort of favoriting the bulletin board and having that as a space that you're reviewing regularly for opportunities is hopefully a helpful resource for you as well. And then just to quickly touch on a couple of CNR specific programs that we can certainly speak more about, but just to make sure that you know that they exist. So we have a couple of grant programs that are available. So first I'll highlight the travel grant, and this program is sort of evolving a little bit for spring, but this is meant for students who are in need of funding to support travel to present at a conference, to present independent research in a conference space. You can see sort of in the screenshot here, there's a varying amount depending on where the conference is taking place. There are some limits in terms of what it can cover. So we can talk a little bit more about those details. It's an application that's rolling. So we are accepting applications now for this for the spring and accept those applications through, I think it's March, we can open that up. But this is a way for you, if you are doing independent research, to potentially help fund travel in order to present at a conference specifically. The summer internship grant is another space where we're able to offer funding to students. And this is really meant to understand or sort of augment a student's living situation. We feel strongly that internships should be paid. You should be compensated for your work and compensated well for it, but it is still the case that there may be a summer internship, for example, that is either not compensated or you're receiving a stipend that is not enough to support your living for the summer. And so this is a way for students to apply for funding in order to support themselves during a summer internship where they may not be able to otherwise support their living. We do have some parameters here. So the opportunity is really to support students who have financial need. And so a component of the application does include understanding more about your financial aid package at Berkeley. Another component of it is the sort of an equity and inclusion lens, is thinking about how your work is contributing to greater social equity. And some of that might just be like, I'm a student who maybe is underrepresented in this internship space. And so this grant, maybe the internship itself isn't necessarily equity oriented, but that there's a space that like our supporting your work is really important for equity in the field and access to sort of capital S science in that space. So we really want you to think broadly about what that would look like. Deadlines for that are through March and April in the spring. And there are specific guidelines on our website, really specific guidelines. So if you're applying to any of these, follow the instructions. We have a clear budget template, clear guidelines for your personal statement and what needs to be included. A lot of times if we have to disqualify someone, it's that they didn't meet the deadline or they didn't include the pieces that we've asked them to include. So please be mindful of that. And then I just wanted to highlight also summer minors. Like, so even thinking through like a transfer student who maybe is in their senior year now and is like, well, shoot, I don't have a lot of time to do any of these things. In CNR, we allow students to extend into the summer after their spring graduation term if they would like, and there are entire minors that you can complete in one summer potentially. So I'm including a couple that are connected to Rausser in sustainability and sustainable business and policy. So just thinking through like these other ways that you can make the most of the time left if you feel like, oh shoot, I'm already I'm already running low on time. So I think that is enough of me talking. And what I would love to do now is, so this is sort of like all three of our offices that we have represented here sort of crammed onto one page. What I would like to do now is I have a couple of questions that I'll be asking our panelists to speak to. And then certainly I hope that those of you who are joining us in real time, if you have questions that you will ask them as we go, or you can save them for the end once the panelists have an opportunity to speak to the questions that we have prepared. And they don't have to go in this order. Panelists, you can unmute as you'd like, but if this order is helpful for organization, we can do that. But the first question is, what are the programs that your office makes available to students in the upcoming spring and summer, maybe specifically in the more immediate timeline? And then what programs might be more relevant, say, for a future academic year, for example? Some of the College Core programs, I think, maybe are maybe year-long, and so maybe that would be something that would be happening later. So yeah, I guess we can start with you, Sarah, since I have you first there on the left. If you want to speak to the S.P.U.R program and sort of what are the options in the coming terms and maybe the future academic year.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of discovery and like starting out with S.P.U.R is a research exposure program. So it's a way for students to apply to projects, working with faculty, and hopefully gain some really valuable research exposure without any experience necessary. So that's something we really want to hammer home, is that like these are entry level research positions, right? Like the qualification might be like excited by insects. You don't need to have prior research experience, and in fact, you shouldn't have to have prior research experience to apply to the S.P.U.R programs. And so for the spring semester, if we're talking in terms of discovery, faculty are currently applying for funding for their projects for the spring, and the projects will get posted to the website on December 4th, and you'll be able to peruse the many exciting research positions through the S.P.U.R program. And they are everything from like energy policy programs to sunflower and monkey flower experiments, and GIST programs with mapping algae in Monterey. So there's really a wide variety that get posted through the S.P.U.R website, and we encourage students to apply to up to 3, and then faculty and their grad students select from there. And then kind of like building on that, like let's say you got a S.P.U.R project and you do it for a semester and you're like, man, I love research. This is amazing. How do I kind of build on this experience? We also provide funding for student-initiated projects. So every fall, spring, and summer, we will provide up to currently it's $2,000 to fund your own research project. A lot of these projects become a thesis, but you don't have to be doing a thesis to apply for S.P.U.R funding. And so those are kind of the different layers of the S.P.U.R program, which are upcoming for the spring semester.
And just a quick clarification, Sarah, thank you so much for that. Are there summer S.P.U.R projects as well? Like if a student wanted to apply to a summer S.P.U.R, is that also an option?
It's a great question. Yes, we have summer S.P.U.R programs. Those are sometimes even like more, not, I want to say more exciting than our spring programs, because our spring programs are oh so very exciting. But during the summer, a lot of them are very field based. So you might be going and looking for aquatic insects in Pinnacles National Park. And like they're a bit more like field gathering based, just because faculty want to do that over the summer.
Wonderful. Thank you. And then I know I said we don't have to go in this order, but I guess I will just sort of direct us forward, and we'll go next to Renee, if you want to talk about, I think maybe many of the spring deadlines have already passed for study abroad, but in terms of the coming terms, what kinds of opportunities might a student be looking forward to with study abroad?
Thank you, Megan. So yes, so for spring 2025, all of the program deadlines have, or application programs have closed. However, we just have opened our fall 2025 and summer 2025 applications November 14th. And then today we opened up our fall and year-long programs today, November 20th. So this is great timing if you're interested in studying abroad. So this is a little bit of a broader perspective of what Berkeley Study Abroad offers. A lot of you, or some of you, may have heard of UCEAP. UCEAP is the system-wide study abroad program provider for all students. UCEAP offers summer, semester, and year-long programs, and we offer a diverse portfolio of programs that include internships, fieldwork, research options. We also have homegrown programs at Berkeley. There are Berkeley Summer Abroad and the global internships. The Berkeley Summer Abroad programs, we offer programs in unique areas around the world that are taught by Berkeley faculty and are very specific and niche in the program or culture where students will be visiting. So instead of taking a course during the summer here at UC Berkeley from Berkeley faculty, you can definitely explore and experience abroad globally and take a Berkeley course during the summer. We also have global internships that are domestic and obviously international. And these are, just as the name implies, global internships around the world in different countries. So in terms of applications and what that looks like, if right now feels too soon to start prepping for summer 2025 or fall 2025, and you're looking down the road to maybe spring 2026, our applications for that cycle open next year, which is April 15. So you always apply a year out for any spring programs or fall programs. So if you're looking to go abroad in fall, you would apply in the fall following, for instance, fall 2025 for the fall 2026. In terms of programs specifically for CNR students, since I advise in Australia, Polynesian areas, a lot of students I do advise are your fellow classmates. And some of the programs of interest are in Australia. We have Sydney, Melbourne programs that are great when it comes to any type of courses that you're trying to meet degree requirements. We also have field work and hands-on experiences, as well as the Maria program and marine biology in Australia. So we have a plethora of programs within that area. We also have a program that is very similar to the Maria and the marine biology in Chile. So it would be good if you would explore the options on our website. And you can find more information in the link that I'll provide to start your research and get that to you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Renee. And just thinking through again, so for folks who maybe are set to graduate in the spring, we do, as a college, allow you to extend to summer. So even if you can't participate in any spring study abroad, but the summer is an option for you, we are happy to help you in CNR advising, extend your graduation term to be able to participate in some of the summer opportunities potentially. We do also, and I should have expanded upon this too, we do also give a full additional semester to study abroad. So if you want to stay even into the fall, if you're supposed to graduate in spring 25 and you've already used up sort of your 4 semesters, we will extend you to fall 25 as well if you wanted to do a fall study abroad program. There are some sort of asterisks there around financial aid eligibility remaining into an extra semester. So, connect with us. Berkeley Study Abroad has great financial aid advising support also, but just being mindful of folks who maybe are almost in their final semester and trying to figure out what this might look like. So we would give you additional time to help make room for some of these things. Thank you so much, Renee. And then Caitlin, would love to know some of the programs that either are relevant for next semester or maybe potentially next academic year with the Public Service Center.
Yeah, so thank you, Sarah and Renee, for all of these resources. I kind of forget how many resources we actually have on campus, and like it's so abundant, and I love it. So just off of the top of my head, I know that a lot of our programs, our applications are closed for the spring and summer, and usually, like with any program, we want students to apply in the middle of the fall semester if they want to do any programs in the spring. I know that one of our programs, Build, which I'm forgetting the name, I think it stands for Berkeley United in Literacy Development. So if you want to be a mentor and you want to tutor students in high schools and middle schools, this is something that we have available for the spring. The applications aren't open yet. But I know that they're hosting interviews later in the month and through December, if that's something that you're interested in. Megan has this link for the Public Service Center here, and if you visit that page, we have a whole bunch of other programs available. So Build for sure will be open for the spring if you want to apply. We have Alt Breaks, which is another one of our programs that you can pick a site that you're interested in, an issue area that you're interested in, and you'll get placed at that site for a week during the spring break. And there's a bunch of different interest areas. I know food justice, climate justice are two of the issue areas. We also have Cal in the Capital. So over the summer, applications for that also close, but over the summer, you're able to intern with I think somewhere in Washington, D.C. with the government, and then also here. So if that's something that you're interested in, that is available. Usually you'll apply in the fall. For the upcoming year, academic year, a lot of our programs listed on the Public Service Center, their applications are also just open in the fall. So just make sure you can reach out to me. I'll link my email here. But also just emailing the Public Service Center. I recommend, even though the applications have passed, I still recommend y'all to reach out to whoever's contact info is on the program's page, because you never know, some students might drop late in the semester and they'll be searching for someone to replace them. So it's always a good idea to reach out, even if the deadline has passed. But yeah, I hope that satisfies some of the programs that y'all were interested in. College Core is another one. One of our interest areas is environmental justice, which might be more relevant for CNR. We also have behavioral health, wellness, and housing, and K through 12 if you're interested in that. And our application opens next semester in February. So keep a lookout for that. And here's my email in the chat. But yeah.
And then Caitlin, for College Core, is that something that, so thinking through, like, is that something that you can only do as a student or something that you're also able to apply for if you're graduating as a program? What's the timing for College Core in particular?
Yeah, for College Core, so we're a statewide partnership with California Volunteers, which they also have AmeriCorps. So College Core is specifically for students. I know AmeriCorps is another program that I guess grad students and not necessarily students you can apply for. We also have Climate Core, which might be more relevant for CNR. There's Food Core as well. I'm not sure what the deadlines are for those, but I can email you what I find, Megan, because there's just a bunch of different cores. But yeah, I think for our timeline, February is when the application opens, and then usually we have interviews around March or April, and by May is when we decide if you're going to be in the program or not. Usually after that, we have, I think from May through August of the following year, we'll decide where to match students. So we have a bunch of different community partners all around the Bay Area, primarily in Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco, and Richmond. And depending on the students' interests and goals, and career goals, we'll have them placed at one of our community partner sites. And then by August, they should be starting their service for the year.
Great. Thank you for that. And then I want to be mindful of time in case any folks who are listening have questions. But another thought is thinking through like how people are applying for these things. And so maybe the question is a combination of like how competitive are some of these opportunities and how would a student best prepare themselves to apply successfully to any of these, whether it's S.P.U.R or a global internship. Are those particularly competitive depending on location? A college core opportunity, what should students expect as they're preparing to potentially apply for these? So maybe we'll go left to right again. Sarah, if you want to talk about what that looks like for S.P.U.R.
Yeah, so S.P.U.R, it can be competitive depending on the project you're applying to. S.P.U.R, unlike URAP, which is a university-wide research program, which I'll throw in the chat, S.P.U.R is for CNR students working with CNR faculty. So naturally, your pool gets a little smaller when it's just CNR students. But some of our projects are competitive. Every semester, I will also send out like a list of like, hey, these are projects with low number of applicants. Like maybe consider applying to some of these. Students are allowed to apply to up to 3 S.P.U.R projects, and we also recommend students apply for the up to 3 URAP projects, because then you're kind of like spreading your options out and increasing your chances of getting a research position. When it comes to applying for S.P.U.R projects, the faculty really want to hear like why you're applying to their project in particular. And we really recommend like starting and when you're applying to S.P.U.R, you're required to submit a personal statement, a resume, and your transcripts. And so when you're submitting your personal statement or like something like a cover letter, we really recommend starting like a blank slate and writing a personal statement for each project rather than like a generic copy and paste, because faculty can definitely tell when that's the case. And they really want to hear about why you're very excited about studying arthropods in the Santa Cruz Mountains. So really tailoring your materials to that project that you're applying to is really, really helpful. I would recommend over winter break, after finals have subsided and people have kind of had some time to rejuvenate. We have really great panels on our RCNR website about S.P.U.R, and it's faculty and students talking about what they're looking for and how they select their applicants. So that can be really, really helpful. And then the Career Center also has really helpful information around like setting up your resume and making it competitive. And then as far as the student initiated projects, so I was kind of talking about the faculty initiated projects that you apply to, but if you're applying for a student initiated project, which is kind of the other side of the S.P.U.R world, the student initiated projects are far less competitive because in itself, writing your own research proposal is a really big undertaking. So as long as you're kind of submitting a well thought out proposal with a budget that makes sense and you're not asking us for a laptop or anything like that, we do prioritize funding student research. So those are very much less competitive, and similar to maybe the internship or travel grant that Megan talked about. Really, the way you get not approved for that is if you like didn't submit a full application.
Thank you. And then Renee, I imagine there might be questions about how competitive any particular study abroad program might be, or type of program, if internships are more competitive or less competitive. I would love to know how students can best prepare themselves for those applications.
Sure. Thank you, Megan. So for UCEAP programs, Berkeley Study Abroad and Global Internships, it's a first come, first served basis. So with the application process, it's always best if you know what program you're interested in to apply the day the application opens. The application consists of personal information that you put on all applications when applying to something in particular. You would need to upload an unofficial copy of your transcript or your academic summary from Cal Central. And it's probably best to understand how your name appears on your passport. In the application, there are no personal statements, no letters of recommendation, no resumes of that nature. So understanding that you are eligible for the program by meeting all of the program eligibility requirements, have an unofficial transcript. The application is a first come, first serve. Some programs during the summer are more highlighted than others. Hence is why we always suggest to students and encourage students to apply when the application's open if you're interested in a specific program. A lot of the programs in Spain are the ones that fill up quickly, and then some of the ones that don't have in Ghana and that sort of thing, they generally do or don't. So it all fluctuates peaks and valleys. We don't know what's going to be popular one semester to the next or one summer to the next. So rule of thumb, apply when the application opens. Other resources to help you navigate and apply to the opportunities that we have is definitely checking out our website in the link I provided earlier. Definitely explore the Explore Grid, Get Started, and Academic and Finance tabs in the first page of our website. Second, we also have a transfer page. I don't know if any of you have seen this yet, but we do receive a lot of great questions from transfer students. And so it's in the I am a transfer, and it really captures really quickly some of the questions that students have in the bullet points listed here. So you can press on the bullet point, click on the bullet point of interest, and then read through them when you're doing your research. That's another great resource. Another great resource is making an appointment with one of our peer advisors. They're really great to have that first conversation to give you firsthand knowledge about studying abroad and the application process. They're another great way to engage on kind of sifting through all of the information and resources that we can provide you for your study abroad experience. And I just in the chat, I put in the link to the portal to make an appointment, not only with myself and my other colleagues in different, who advise on different regions, but our peer advisors as well.
Yay, thank you. It's a good plug for advising. Talk to an advisor. We can help in all kinds of settings. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Renee. And let me get back here. Caitlin, would love to hear from you in terms of some of the programs that you've talked about, like how best folks can prepare themselves to apply to either the College Core or build or sort of any of the other things that you mentioned.
Yeah, thank you for restating the question. I kind of forgot for a second.
That's fair.
Yeah, so for competitiveness, two of our programs that I mentioned earlier, so Alt Breaks, and I think I mentioned Cal in the Capital, those are our most competitive programs, and mainly because students get a chance to visit another state or they visit Washington, D.C. for their internship or fellowship, and a lot of our students really enjoy that, getting to explore outside of California. I can mainly speak on College Core. The best way to prepare is to apply early. So as soon as you see the application and as soon as it opens, to apply early, because we get up to 100 to 150 students or fellows that apply. We're mostly a program that's based on financial need. So if you have what's it called, federal Pell Grant, or if you're eligible for CADAA for Dreamers, you're most likely to get into the program. We cater to a lot of undergrad, transfer, low-income students, and first-gen students. So that's one thing that you need to consider, is just checking for the application as soon as it opens. And then another piece of advice that I want to give is to always be honest and true to yourself when you're applying. So in our application, what is it? It's not available right now, so I can't really give you an example, but in our app, we asked a few questions about why you're interested in the program and what issue area you're interested in, and just being honest about why this is something that you're passionate about really shows and speaks out to the engagement coordinators and College Core team. That's a really big one and important one. And we also just want to make sure that you're placed at a site that you enjoy and that you'll be able to learn from. Our program isn't too strict or competitive, I would say, because we treat our program as if it's like a mentorship. Like I said, a lot of our students are first gen, so they're coming into this as kind of basically their first part-time job. And we understand that in their answers as well. So if you don't have a lot of experience, that is okay. That is actually like really perfect for us, because that way you get to learn more in the program. But yeah, two big things, apply early, and then also just showcase yourself really well in your answers.
Yay, thank you, friends. This is so wonderful. And then I do have another question, but keeping in mind time, for the folks who are here in real time, if you have a question and want us to pause so that you can ask that question, we can absolutely hold off. Otherwise, I can ask this last question before we wrap up. So just want to pause briefly in case anyone who's in the session in real time has a question to ask of anyone on our panel. And I'm never very good at the waiting, but I will wait a couple more seconds. Okay. I was in a session recently where they talked about doing the Jeopardy jingle in their head while they waited for questions. So yeah, I'll go ahead and ask a final question just around how students who participate in programs like these can best represent the experience on a resume, whether to an employer or a graduate school. So thinking about ways that students can talk about this type of discovery, the type of experiences that the three of you are speaking about, how that has served students in employment or internship or grad applications, and sort of how they can best speak about that experience, these experiences, or represent them in professional spaces. And then keeping in mind, we have about 10 minutes left. So Sarah, if you want to maybe talk about some of the S.P.U.R work and how students sort of represent that experience in different spaces.
Yeah, definitely. So the S.P.U.R program looks great on a resume. Research at the #1 research institution always looks good on a resume. Since S.P.U.R is unpaid, you would want to make sure we're not representing it as a job necessarily. But you can absolutely list S.P.U.R on your resume. And a lot of grad schools that you're applying to are research based. So, what better way to show that you're capable of doing graduate level research than showing that you did undergraduate research? This is particularly true for our student initiated projects. So, showing that you managed your own research project and talking about that on your resume and cover letter, or grad school applications can be very exciting for future employers or future grad school admissions representatives and faculty. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. And then Renee, do you have people who ask sort of about how they should include study abroad on a resume and what that looks like and what are the benefits to that, and what are some thoughts about how to include these experiences there?
Sure, happy to explore. So there's some highlights that you want to keep in mind to adding studying abroad to your resume. And what we refer students is to, first and foremost, reach out to the career engagement website. They have a lot of great resources to help you navigate through your resume and cover letters and whatnot. But skills that you gain from studying abroad would be adaptability, appreciation to diversity, cultural awareness, problem solving, social skills. A lot of these skills are gained pre-departure or throughout the time frame of your summer or your semester abroad, and you really can elaborate on what those skills and awarenesses are. In terms of how it is helpful in your career development. So employers really look at many skills across the board. So obviously a digital technology, professionalism, ethic, and whatnot. But you also want to consider leadership, teamwork, anything that you do with your cohort of study abroad students or team. Career management, your global intellectual type of overview and fluency. Those are some things that you might want to consider and highlight. And also really think about your experience abroad, where you're located and the cultural experience that you had combined with the academics and the different academic setting and the different academic learning styles. You could definitely market these experiences on your resume, LinkedIn, and share them in your interview. What I often tell students when they say, well, how am I going to sum this up in an interview? Well, hopefully your interview is like a conversation to where they're going to ask you about your experience and your time abroad. So think of ways to combine your experiences in a deliverable to highlight how, what, when, and why. And it's a really great way to open conversation. A lot of people do go abroad during their university experience, so it might be a great way to connect with people that also have study abroad. But if you have any other questions on how to elaborate to this kind of experience on your resume, definitely reach out to the Career Center, and I will give you their website here. Thanks.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Renee. Yeah, and the Career Center, so career engagement, I mentioned the Discovery Hub. So Handshake is a tool that they use in terms of finding specific opportunities, and then certainly resources for support. And specific to resumes, our career engagement assistant director, Jen Racklin, does weekly resume labs in our building. So I think there's just one more maybe for this semester, but assuming she does that again next semester, those were every Tuesday morning where she was just hanging out in her computer lab, like helping people on their resumes. And so that's a great resource too, if you're thinking about these or any other opportunities or sort of strengthening that document for future applications. And then Caitlin, yeah, I would love to hear from you about some of these professional components and how folks can talk about some of these experiences to future employers or in future applications.
Yeah, so I want to also be mindful of time, so I'll try to breeze through these really quick. So like I mentioned earlier, College Core is more like a mentorship program. So a lot of our community partners understand that y'all are students first, and so they're there to mentor and treat mistakes as opportunities for growth. And when our fellows get partnered to our community partner sites, many of them get onboarded as permanent staff at these sites. So that is one opportunity I kind of wanted to highlight. Also, for our program fellows are required to reach 450 hours of service, which I know if you're applying for grad schools, you might need like around 300 to 450 hours of service anyway. So that's a great way to get all those hours in while building community at your community partner sites. I would say one of the best ways to, I guess, highlight the experience that you're gaining and put it into your resumes. A lot of the work that we do, we're working with nonprofits. Most of our community partners are nonprofits. And so the work that you're doing there, our fellows need to be very flexible and being able to adapt to their environments because things change all the time. And so when you're coming into your site, your tasks and your shifts might look different each day, especially here in the Bay, everything's changing all the time. Something else, if you're interested in social work, we have a bunch of different programs that cater to different issue areas. Like I've been mentioning, climate justice, food justice, literacy, all those things you can highlight in your resumes and connect them to social work if that's something that you're interested in. I was going to mention something else, but I forgot. Hopefully it'll come to me, but those are the main things.
That's great. Thank you. And I'll just vamp for a minute. And if you think of it, you can cut me off. But yeah, so thank you all so much. And we are close to time now. So just opening it up one more time for folks who are in the call. If you have questions, I'll put various email addresses here. I'll just sort of mutter until 3. Any questions from folks who are here with us? I don't know if the chat is a question or a link. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything there. Okay, good. Okay, well then I will go ahead and wrap us up. I'll leave this here. We will go ahead and send out the slides can be sent out pretty quickly. To send out the recording, we will need to do the caption process, which can take a little bit of time. So we'll try to get that out to folks as quickly as we can. But thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and thank you to our panelists. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and stop recording.